What a weekend. So the short story is your car windshield was shot out by rubber bullets by police. Here's a photo of it. We'll start with the photo. This happened to your car. You were a reporter. Well, you still are a reporter. You have not. You didn't quit. You didn't quit, did you? This weekend wasn't the breaking point, was it?
I didn't quit. I think my cameraman might have quit. He has PTSD.
Oh, geez. So this happened to you this weekend, and we were both in Beverly Hills on Saturday at different times, and so we're gonna kind of unpack what happened, what's been happening. There's some footage I got from Pasadena, some footage from Beverly Hills, some footage from other areas in LA where an LAPD car just straight up ran somebody over. There was no ambiguity this time. And so I was there earlier. I went there around noon. And one of the photos that I took that I posted on my Instagram was a photo of as we were walking by to the park where it all started, we saw this big congregation of police. They were meeting in some area. There was a big fence there. You couldn't get close to it. So people were taking videos and photos, through the fence. Like, that's what I did. I just stuck my phone up to a fence, took a photo because, we were kind of thinking, I have no idea what they're saying, but I'm sure it's likely not, let's respect everybody's right to protest and assemble. I'm sure that's not what they were saying. So we took the photo and, here was my experience as someone who was there earlier, and everybody who was there during the early hours before things got super chaotic. They all had the same thing to say. Everything was completely 1000% peaceful.
Yeah.
And then the cops showed up. And I mean, when I started in the field, and it just seemed like a really chill folk music festival vibe. Right. Like, I mean, people were impassioned. People were talking about the issues. People had the signs, like they knew the cause they were there for. But it was completely, I mean, people were playing music. People were handing out literature. People were talking. People were engaging. And they were trying to social distance through all this, too, mind you. We had our face masks on. We were trying to keep our distance. It was 1000% peaceful. Then we marched, and it remained peaceful. A buddy of mine, my college agent, actually, who was also out there protesting, he experienced some things while he was marching. I didn't experience any of this, but he said that, they had cop cars just randomly planted everywhere, empty cop cars. And he said he saw like one or two people throw something at them, like throw like a pebble or whatever. And then other people were like, don't do that because that's what they want. They want us to do that to their cars. And then that car is completely, they want us to do that. So it was a very peaceful thing. I saw some people, they were standing on a bus. One guy was up on a traffic light. But again, they were just there. In fact, according to what they expressed verbally, who let them on and off was, I think, the bus driver himself. Or herself that let them on and off. Right. So it was a completely peaceful demonstration. And then the cops showed up. And the way it unpacked for me was I just, was walking by, and all of a sudden you see smoke. You see people running the other direction. So I ran toward it to see what was going on. And that was when it started. That was the first car that was on fire. And then, of course, it escalated from there. So what happened to you? How did it get to the point of your cars being hit with rubber bullets?
Yeah, I know, right? It went from 1 to 12,000 really quickly, actually. So it was peaceful. And basically, I was where we were was right behind where the Orange Grove shopping center is. So that's sort of where the sheriff's department, I think, decided to take a stand. And I am fully of the belief that the reason they did that is because they were trying to preemptively protect the private property at the mall there, et cetera. Mm-hmm. But there was no need for this. The protesters were peaceful. I had just come from the East LA protest, which there was very little cop presence at. So my guess is they didn't feel the need to protect the Boyle Heights neighborhood, right? Because that's a poor neighborhood. So I left the East LA protest. I came to the Beverly Hills or the Beverly Fairfax one, and pretty soon after we got there, just mayhem started breaking out. But it was the police that started spraying the crowd with rubber bullets, which
so just preemptively, like they just kind of started like going up to the crowd and just started unloading.
Well, they weren't going up to the crowd. They had stationed, and if you look through some of the footage, I'm going to continue to upload it. Status Quo has some of it up now. They had stationed snipers on top of a synagogue, which was right across the street from the Orange Grove. And these guys were up there with, they look like AK-47s, but they shoot rubber bullets. But let me be really clear. These rubber bullets are very painful. I was shot by them. And in retrospect today, that was a really dangerous situation that I was in because I didn't have any riot gear with me. I didn't anticipate this happening. I was gassed by the cops to the point where I actually did think I thought that was it. I thought, this is it. This is the end. I'm going to die. I could not breathe. I'll get to that in a second. But so they started spraying these rubber bullets, and one of the kids that got hit in the head with a rubber bullet is currently now, just so folks understand how lethal these are, is in the hospital in intensive care with a brain bleed. I've been contacted by the kid's stepfather because honestly, they're steady.
How old is he?
Oh God, maybe 22, 23. He looked like.
No.
I don't know for sure how old he was, but a young kid. I mean, and he wasn't doing anything. But they were just randomly I got sprayed. I had a visible press credential I was wearing. So the first sheriff that saw my press credential, she came up to me to ask me to leave. I showed it to her, and she went like this. So I mean, at least there were some willing to protect the First Amendment rights of the free press. But at one point, you'll see in the video that Jordan Sheraton put up, I actually lost. You're going to hear me cuss a lot because at this point, there had been a lot of violence. I had been rubber bulleted. I'd been pushed into the street by one of them in front of oncoming traffic. They had thrown tear gas canisters at my car. But I persevered. I was like, I'm going to cover this stuff, right? You guys aren't going to intimidate me. So myself and another photojournalist who was, I know he does freelance work for The Guardian. I'm not sure if he was working for them on Saturday or just doing freelance. But the police, we were the only ones up there. All the protesters were back behind the street. So there was a good 50 feet between the street light and where the police had lined up. And then the protesters were on the other side of the street. So we were really the only ones up there. All of a sudden, they started walking forward and ramming their clubs, like in a line at us. And I'm like looking over and I'm seeing, we're the only guys up here. And then it finally dawned on me, they wanted us out of there. So I started. They did
the thing where they kind of rattle their clubs, like it's sort of like their battle movement.
Like he punched me in the rib with one of them. I mean, it was annoying, but please, I'm alive. Like, let's be honest, if I was one of the black protesters, I would have been dead because I called him an asshole, like I cussed him out, I mouthed off. And next thing I know, they threw a tear gas canister really, really almost right in front of us. So both him and I, you can see in the video, come around the corner and we're both like, we can't breathe. I really could not breathe. In fact, it was so terrible. I didn't realize it was tear gas. And I'm really thankful for some of the BLM protesters that kind of flew in and rescued. They brought me over to the side. They doused my face with what turned out to be, I thought it was milk, but apparently they mix baking soda and milk of magnesia, I believe she said. Anyway, they.
Oh, I did see. I did grab that video that you you posted. So
let's play it because I mean they were. Thank God for them. Like I was really could not breathe. There you go.
I don't know.
So this is you coughing.
I can't breathe. I can't breathe. Open your eyes. Just open your eyes. Open your eyes. Open your eyes. Open your eyes. Just open your eyes.
So telling you to open your eyes.
Yeah, and I couldn't breathe. You didn't hear me gasping. I really couldn't breathe. It was unbelievable.
Would you like some water?
Got it? Need someone to pour it?
I don't know, man. I can't. Like, what the fuck is that shit?
No, I know. I got it like 3 times already.
Take a sip. Lean your head back.
Yeah.
That's not tear gas. What is that?
It's tear gas.
You ready?
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Open. Keep them open. Keep them open.
Not my ass.
It's just going to take 5 or 10 minutes. Good.
You're gonna be alright. Fucking assholes.
You okay?
Yeah. They obviously don't want fresh people to That's the third time.
Now I couldn't hear you exactly. Did you say what a bunch of assholes, or did you say
Yeah.
or did you say Did you say it's just a couple bad apples? I couldn't tell.
No, what a bunch of assholes. I was cussing a lot that day. If you want to see me cuss, go to some of the video and you will be like, girl. I had been, at that point, I had just working myself up. I was so angry about what was happening in front of me. I couldn't believe it. So, and he was right.
Was this before or after your windshield got shot?
This was before the windshield. It got progressively worse. So that didn't work. He was right. It lasted about 5 or 10 minutes. My eyes were bloodshot till the next morning. And I had, you can see some of the video later on the day. I actually had milk of magnesia caked on my face at various places. But in that moment, I was like, you know what, fuck this. This is not going to intimidate me. This stuff needs to be seen by the general public because I know the mainstream media is not here. They're up in their helicopters. God knows what kind of commentary they're giving you because they're not going to get out of their helicopters and get on the ground there. It's too dangerous.
Right.
And obviously it was dangerous. I mean, if I had foreseen what was going to happen on Saturday, I would have showed up with a helmet, goggles, and a face mask. That was really necessary if you wanted to be safe in that environment. They were randomly also shooting tear gas canisters every few minutes. And the rubber bullets, if you look at the footage, like for 2.5 hours, were nonstop. They didn't stop. They just kept shooting.
Yeah, a buddy of mine, he wore goggles. I think we're getting a little feedback.
Yeah, okay.
But yeah, he wore goggles and he, it's pretty funny because he was like, yeah, these are essential. And I thought about it. I'm like, well, next protest, if I wear goggles, I'm actually not going to be in the best for safety of everybody around me because my eyesight is really freaking bad. So
yeah, you can get the have your glasses underneath.
Yeah, right. Yeah. If I wear goggles, it'll be really. I'm just gonna be like, yeah, we gotta. I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm not really. And they're gonna be like, this guy's an inside agitator. Like, no, I'm not. I just can't see anything. I have my goggles on.
And all your footage is going to be blurry, right?
Yeah, it's going to be really terrible. They'll be like, Ron just filmed a tree for like 40 minutes. Where does he think he is?
Yeah, right? Like, what is he looking at?
What is Ron looking at?
Another thing that was going on is the police department, I'm assuming it was the police department, there was some sort of jammer in effect because I could no longer get cell service or streaming. I couldn't stream from the site. And then what's really upset me was later on another girl, I have this on video, got shot in the face by one of the rubber bullets and it broke her nose. She also was taken to the hospital. But we were trying to call 911 and couldn't get, and I always thought that with these jammers, they at least allow for emergency signals. Like you should still be able to call 911. So I don't understand the details, the tech details of that. I'd be interested in speaking to someone that had that sort of knowledge and expertise. But all I know is it was really difficult to even make a phone call. It was impossible to stream. And, if you're going to rain the crowd with rubber bullets like that and tear gas, it's really imperative that you have emergency personnel available. I mean, this was wild to me that they simply didn't care.
Yeah. Well, so where were you exactly when the thing happened with your car? Like, were you trying to get out or get to another area?
Yeah, at that point, we were trying to get out. So things kept escalating. We were there for about 2 hours. Uh-huh. So at that point, this was after the other girl had the broken nose. I had more footage of just a host of things that happened in between. But it became really clear to us that it was going to get worse. I knew that they had started to make arrests because in fact, I think this is partly why they wanted to drive us out of there, is I heard them talking on their walkie-talkies about corralling people into the alley and through the parking lot intentionally so that they could pick them off. So the idea was to tell protesters to exit over this way, but really what they were doing is corralling them into a location that they couldn't escape from. And then they just were going to do a mass arrest. So I knew that was happening. I told my camera guy to go warn the protesters. And I'm pretty sure that one of the LAPD officers heard me having that discussion because we were pretty close to their line. So that was bad of me. I should have had more forethought to be a little bit more quiet about that. But after he left to do that is when all that ruckus came with them shoving us out of the area they were in and onto the street. So you tell me, Ron, I mean, it seems to me that they absolutely did not want us there covering it. A second sheriff, after he saw my credential, was like, I don't care who you are. I don't care if you have a credential. Get the fuck out of here.
Wow.
Oh, yeah, they were not messing around. They were very combative. So when you see all this video of me like fucking this, blah, blah, like this is why.
Yeah, well, and it's happened. It's happened all over the country. I mean, and of course, Fee and everyone at the Convo Couch had a similar experience where they were cornered. Which I'm going to have them on the show later this week, and we're going to show all that. And then you have what happened to Status Quo in Washington D.C.
Yeah,
you have what's going on in D.C. in general. You have everything that happened in New York. To tons of just everybody in general. I mean, people I know who are comedians and journalists and podcasters and what have you, and just everyone in general.
No, they went after John Cusack and his bike.
That's right. John Cusack was protesting in Chicago, and they went after him. Let's stay in California for a minute. So
yeah, sorry, I forgot to finish the window thing. I got sidetracked. My apologies. Basically, what happened was as we were leaving. And everybody was leaving at the same time, right? So there was traffic in front of us, cars. We couldn't go faster than what we were. If we hit, that would have entailed us driving on the sidewalk and running people over. So that's just how it was. We were trapped in there. So, but at this particular junction in time, I'd had so many altercations with both the sheriffs and the police over some of the stuff that they were doing that they knew what my car was because they'd already thrown tear gas at it, right? They saw me, covering things. And coming out of the car and going back in the car, but we were behind everybody else. We were the very end, the last car out, and I see them behind me, and there's like 50 officers behind me. They all have their rubber bullet guns. They're shooting. They're just continuing to shoot. They never stopped. And I heard a thump, and I thought to myself, that's either my tire, my fender, or my window.
Oh, geez.
Wasn't the window yet, though. Wait, it gets worse. So I'm like, that was probably, and I looked. So I rolled down the window and I started videotaping. And I said to the cops, I said, what are you doing? Is this necessary? You're going to harm my car. Like, you've already thrown tear gas at it. And I'm like, you want to break my window now? Or I said something to that effect. I can't remember exactly. But then the guy, you've seen the video, the guy literally turns the gun towards my window and shoots it.
Wow.
And so then I say to him, I'm like, and who's going to pay for that property damage? And then the guy says to me, call the city.
Wow. Sheesh. And that's all in the Status Quo video? That's like
no, not all of it. Part of it is, yeah.
Okay, so this is all still coming out.
It's also coming out. I have like 2.5 hours. So Jordan Zetter did a great job actually making this 60-minute video report that tells a really good tale of what happened. Is really well done. But yeah, I'll upload onto Rockfin or whatever more of these videos. I also had the opportunity to speak with some of the protesters when I was in the trenches, and I used in trenches seriously because this felt like a war zone. And we were literally hiding in the alcoves in front of the retail outlets there. They have the walls that come in for the door in some of these areas. We were hiding in these little crammed areas because the bullets and the tear gas were just flying. It wasn't safe. So I took that opportunity to speak with a lot of them. So I'll upload some of those interviews too.
This is, I mean, it's like just stepping back for a second and just thinking about the world at large. I had a dream last night that my wife and I were just, we were waiting to be seated at a very nice Chinese restaurant. Just and it wasn't a real restaurant. It was just like, this is just totally a dream. But in like the dream, I knew this was a Chinese restaurant that I enjoyed a lot, and I was real excited to eat there. And we were just waiting, and everybody was just sitting there pleasantly, and we were just having conversations. And then I woke up I woke up and I realized it's morning, and my wife actually was looking at some stuff on Twitter and Instagram, trying to find out, okay, so what's going on today? Yeah. What's happening today? And right away, I was just brought back to reality that it is really crumbling before our eyes. It really is. And this is a failed state. I mean, there's no getting around it. Like, the experiment as we know it is over. And, in many ways, it needed to end. I mean, it was on its way out. This just exacerbated the inevitable. But wow.
Yeah, no, I agree. This will just tell you everything, Ron. So, my neighbors, I've lived in my house here for quite some time now. So my car, the window guy is coming tomorrow to fix it. So it's still right there, all broken and crazy looking. There's dents and tear where you can see the tear gas cans.
Are you going to build the city?
Oh yes, I'm going to
build the city,
Ron.
You have the video evidence. Yeah, the video footage. Be like, hey, this guy, who I'm sure is just one of a few bad apples. This guy, this guy, he said, I get to build the city.
Up at this point, yeah. So, but I'm out there and I'm taking photos because they needed the documentation. They needed the JPEG sent to them. And my neighbor's outside walking the dog, and he stops, and I didn't have to even tell him. He looks at me, looks at the car, he goes, "Let me guess, the LAPD did that."
Yeah.
I'm like, correct.
So.
And he's like, yeah, I saw they were arresting journalists last night. I'm like, they were.
Yeah.
So.
Get your news on with Ron. Don't you want to know what's going on? We're getting our news on today. Get your news on with Ron. Don't you want to know what's going on? We're getting our news on today. You can tweet me an article at Ron Placone. We'll go through it together and make it our own. Get your